I see the sign that says event recording is in progress up at the top.
All right, I've got notice. So let's call this meeting of St. Louis County WIB Board for November 16th, 2022 to order. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. I just like y'all to know that appreciate your time and coming in and doing this. And so let's just jump into it and get started. We don't have votes this morning, but we do have a lot of stuff on our agenda. So we've got 2 sets of minutes. So if we can get a motion to accept the first set of minutes for the meeting on 6/17/22.
Excuse me, Jason, can I do roll call first?
Oh, I guess. Yes, ma'am.
Brad Ackman.
Here, I'm sorry, I'm having some technical issues.
No issues. Thank you. We saw you. Thank you. Jason Archer. Caroline Battles.
Here.
Osmond. John Bowman. John Gall.
Here.
Mary Grott.
Present.
Elliot Henry. Quentin is Henry.
Good morning.
Sir. Lee Metcalf.
Morning, I'm here.
Lydia Mitchell.
Here.
Gwen Mizell.
Here.
Vanessa Parker Lewis.
I think you said my name. Present.
Reginald Scott.
Here.
Carolyn Seward.
Here.
Jerry Bowles. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Loris. Now, I apologize. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. The link is live on the agenda if you have any questions. If there are not questions, we'll need 2 motions. So I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes for June 6/17.
This is Lee Metcalf. I make a motion to approve.
Second, Gwen Mizell.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? And hearing none. And then the second set of minutes for approval would be our meeting from September 28th, 2022.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Second.
Second, Vanessa, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Great, thank you. The Director Hayes is with us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Director. And this is the part we introduce the director and have a few comments for us.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. Good morning, members. First, I want to say from the DHS leadership team, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. It would be an understatement to say that this year has been dynamic and very interesting. However, there has been one constant: outstanding leadership and commitment from this board. And we want to thank you for your service for this year and for the future. And please know that as we move to the next 4 years, top of mind for this administration will be supporting your goals and objectives. Workforce is key in terms of improving the lives of St. Louis County residents. So again, thank you. And again, I apologize. I have another board meeting starting at 9, so I'll have to leave a little early.
Thank you, Director. Next is my remarks. I don't really have a lot that I want to talk about this morning. I just want to say thank you also to everyone for, prioritizing and coming to this meetings. We just had one recently with the budget and stuff. So we've kind of stacked these up kind of close together. And I'm kind of excited this morning, instead of having to move the agenda to do votes, we have the ability to have a guest speaker about a presentation about a project in Delwood, St. Louis County. And I'll let Greg do the introduction to them, but it's a pretty neat project. I'm aware of it in an economic development sense. So I'm looking forward for them to do a presentation to us. And I think I'd like to go ahead and let Greg go ahead and turn him over and let Greg kind of run us through the director's remarks and our introductions.
Thank you, Jason, and good morning, all. I'm operating out of Kansas City this morning in a hotel room, so I think my internet is a little bit unstable at times. Let me know, Jason. Send me a text if you feel like it's too unstable and folks can't hear me or there's some disruptions. Okay, and I'll adjust. I can call in, but it's great to have everyone here this morning for the final board meeting of the year. I'll reiterate what Director Hayes has said, as well as our chair, which is we appreciate your time and commitment, and we also know that this is coming on the heels of a last meeting that was not too long ago. So again, appreciate your flexibility, appreciate you making this a priority. Workforce development, as Director Hayes noted, is a priority for our county executive. It's a priority for St. Louis County. So the work that you all do and contribute to in your leadership is critical for not only St. Louis County, but for our region overall. So I just wanted to echo those thanks as we get close to wrapping up the year and move towards holiday season. Thanks, Dr. Gall. He let me know that I sound good, so we'll keep proceeding then. But I'll say that we're excited about where we are now and excited about the next year ahead. And we'll talk about some of the areas of focus as we move through the agenda today. But I also wanted to, take some time real quick to also thank the team, the workforce development staff that are on this call for all their hard work as we wrap up again this calendar year and look to the next year. I want to confirm before we move into, I'm gonna give some remarks, but before we do that, I want to introduce our special guests. We want to give them an opportunity to share a presentation with this board. I see, it looks like Beverly Jenkins is on the call. Good morning. Pastor Jenkins, are you with us? Can we hear you?
Yeah, good morning. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
She may have just,
Can
okay.
you all hear me now? Is
Yes.
that better?
Yes, we
Okay,
can hear you.
wonderful. Great. Good to be here.
Okay, great to see you. Yes.
Wonderful.
So we want to welcome Beverly Jenkins, and if she's, I don't know if other members of your team are here, Beverly, but we're excited to introduce you in a moment. I just want to set the stage a little bit for what we're going to do with this presentation. So as you all know, there is within our workforce system, there's an opportunity to partner with other organizations. In fact, WIOA, the legislation that authorizes all of our workforce development activity, encourages collaboration with community-based partners, and also to really look more at place-based efforts as well. And so we're excited to introduce Beverly Jenkins today because she'll be touching on an exciting and innovative project that a number of you are probably aware of that's taking place in the Delwood neighborhood. And I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, Pastor Jenkins, so I won't say too much, but I will say that this project is really exciting because it's serving a population that is in need of workforce development and job services in that area. When we looked at data from the pandemic, it was clear that those who were most impacted by the pandemic. Many of them resided in the zip codes surrounding the Delwood, Ferguson area. A high number of unemployment claims were filed during the pandemic period. And we know that there's areas of poverty in household income that could be improved through innovative workforce development solutions, particularly targeted in that community, in that area. And so Beverly Jenkins is here representing the R&R Marketplace today, and she's going to touch on this project. And really, we're presenting this to our board today because we want the board to consider the ways that we might partner with them as they develop this project and fully launch it, and even envision potentially at some point the R&R Marketplace being one of our access points or possible affiliate sites down the road. And that's something that we can explore as a board together. But first, I want to make sure that you all have an opportunity to meet Pastor Jenkins and learn more about this exciting project. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Pastor Jenkins. And let me make sure that Loris, by the way, if she could flash up your presentation as well, if we can just get that set up real quick. But you can go ahead and start talking if you'd like.
Sure. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate you. I hope you guys can hear me clearly. I've got on my earbuds, or these headphone thingies. So I hope they're coming through pretty clear for you all.
You sound great.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you too, Jason. Jason's been out to the plaza quite a bit before as well, and so we're grateful for you guys for allowing us this opportunity. Part of our team is also on the panel with you guys. Gigi McMullen, who's our development director, and then also Pastor Ken Jenkins is on as well too. So just FYI. So basically, I will let you guys know exactly what we're doing. So we've been working on this project now for probably about 9 years, and this is the heartbeat of where our family actually lives. So my husband's family lives in Delwood. Of course, I don't know if you all are familiar with Kathy's Kitchen. That is our family as well. Jerome and Kathy Jenkins. And then also Ken's mom and dad used to live right around the corner from the old Springwood Plaza. So if you're not familiar with the area, we are repurposing the 91,000 square foot plaza that is the old Springwood, used to be the old Snooks Plaza. And so that is being repurposed into really a co-location of services for the community that we hope will bring transformation, or we know will bring transformation when you all hear about what's taking place. So it's a 5-pillar project. And so in the 5 pillars is what we believe that would give any community economic access within that with any low moderate income location. These pillars, we believe, are what is actually been missing or has been missing as a component together in our community. One is early childhood education, but in a different way. So we're offering early childhood education with our partner, Stephen Swalek, from an emotionally responsive center with trauma-informed practices built in. So we'll get a chance to build this center, this early childhood learning center, from the ground up, with our babies in mind, as far as like what their actual needs are from the ground up. We also will have there a banking partner. That's one of our pillars as well, a financial institution. We've chosen the banking partner already. They're coming in and they're going to actually infuse capital into the small business community as well. So we're really excited about that partner and that pillar. One of the other pillars is also our innovation center. We're calling it the North County Innovation Center. And that is where we're housing entrepreneurs. And we are building capacity around 100 entrepreneurs per year. That is the goal. We've dedicated 11,000 square foot to this space for them. So it'll be a co-working space where they can actually rent offices and have space there, but also it'll build capacity around their businesses in the sense that we're going to be offering services that'll be there on the ground. Accounting, lawyers, you name it, as far as whatever it takes to build a business from the ground up, trademark lawyers, all of that will be in the space with them so that they can not only start the businesses, but build the businesses in capacity in what they're already actually doing. It's a ton of businesses around this community. The stats are extremely high, of course, for female entrepreneurs. But then also for male entrepreneurs, we have people on a waiting list almost now of saying, hey, we'd love to talk to you about how we become a tenant in this particular space. One of the other pillars is also our Employ St. Louis, which is the love of our life. It's actually the Employ St. Louis has 4 career pathways, and so Employ St. Louis is something that we've been working in for probably over 25 years. We're calling it Employ St. Louis now, but we worked for Jobs for Life is the curriculum that we utilized for many years for our employment training center. And so it's a soft skills training, but we're tying that soft skills training to career pathways. Our 4 career pathways that we're tying it to are geospatial, healthcare, also the IT, and then also the trades. On each one of those, we have a partner that we're working with. And we're really, really, really excited about that. So we take about 20 students per class. We plan to graduate about 780 people actually can go through this. This is our, what we consider to be our, I won't say low ball, but our lowest range of numbers that we feel like we can actually really hit without pretending like, like sometimes numbers get inflated, but the 780 are students that actually would be able to go through that class and graduate. Out of the class that we just did, we just ran a cohort just recently, and we're really, really very, very excited about what took place in this. Our class was, we slotted it for 20 students, and the incredible thing was is that we had a waiting list for this class. We graduated 19 out of the 20. We're graduating 19 out of the 20. This Monday, we're having a graduation down at Del Mar Divine for that Employ St. Louis training. And it just blew our minds, the number of people that actually joined around this particular cohort that took place just recently. The last pillar is going to be in the multiplex. So the multiplex is it's the biggest building that's on the lot. I wish I had a picture of it up. I don't see the slide deck up yet, but the biggest building on the lot is the Old Snooks building. Inside of that is going to house our church, but then also all of our community partners will be in that location as well. And then also Fit and Food is dealing with food insecurities in that. So every single community partner we're working with, we have over 29 community partners that we're working with, and we're really, it's been an incredible journey this last 9 years. Like, not only have we met people that are a part of this work, but have been ingrained in the work since the very beginning. Out of that, also, one of the things that we're really very secure in is that this particular project has a sustainability factor that most nonprofits don't get to benefit from. So inside of this plaza, we also have lease space that is there as well. So the leasing partners, or what we call our non-affiliate partners, will be there on the ground with us as well. There'll be a nursing school there, a restaurant there, the banking partner is leasing from us there, and then also behavioral health will be there. Behavioral Health Network is a partner that will be there as well. ARCA is leasing space as well. Assisted Recovery Centers of America will also be leasing space in there. And they are going to be dealing with opioid addiction and then also behavioral health issues as well. They also will have a pharmacy in that particular location as well. And so we're very, very blessed to have this kind of information take place for us, this kind of support, community support as well. Some of our community partners consist of people like the Center of Hope and Peace, who does transitional housing within the community as well. And so they are also one of our partners as well. One of the things I wanted to share with you guys too is to hone in. Yeah, sure.
Excuse me, Pastor Jenkins. Can you?
Yeah.
We're
Am I
having some
saying too much?
technical we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with the screen share. Can you give me just a second to try to catch
Sure.
up with you? Okay.
Yeah. I was moving a little fast because I didn't see it. So I was like, let me hurry up and say everything.
I was trying.
Okay,
Give me
it's
one
okay. It's
second.
all right.
Hey, Loris,
Cool.
you also included the deck in the agenda too, because I have it pulled up as well. I believe, is that the deck you were referencing?
Think so. I'm pretty sure that what Gigi sent over to you guys is the same thing that we're referencing right now.
Okay, great. It
Yeah.
looks great.
Yeah, I couldn't see it, so I was just like, let me just say all of what I know and get it out here to y'all. Yeah. If you all have it, then we all pretty much, I know Pastor Jenkins and myself, we know it pretty much by heart. If you all have this slide deck and you can see everything, then you can kind of see the layout of the land. It's like an L-shaped plaza. Is that okay, Loris, if I just simply explain the pieces for you, or?
Tell me what slide you're on. I can get there now.
Okay,
Can you all
I
see
am
my
probably not on any particular slide because I just started just kind of sharing from just because I didn't see it. So I just started sharing all of the information, but I can start from where you are. How about that? And you can just keep passing through. So this is really just a history. So Employ St. Louis has been around in a different form for probably over 20 years. So my husband and myself basically have an expertise, we believe, in workforce development because that's really what we worked in. Besides being pastors, we have made a living and had made a living from being headhunters and people who were in the workforce development field all of our lives, pretty much. So my husband was a headhunter for I think it was a contingency search firm. I was a consultant for a retained search firm where I placed or worked on cultural development within companies for C-level executives. And so I had the ability to be able to go in and see if people were compatible with teams. And so I've taken those same skill sets, and my husband has as well, and then placed them into what we do now, which is the soft skills training that we use the curriculum for Jobs for Life. Jobs for Life has been around for almost 28 years. Both my husband and myself have sat on that board, him almost from the very beginning, almost from the inception of Jobs for Life. It's out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And the board itself it's a global board, meaning that we have this curriculum inside of 4 countries and about, I think, 42 states right now is where Jobs for Life actually is centered. We use their curriculum, but we kind of tweak it to what it is that we want to do as far as soft skills training to match with those 4 career pathways. So we're integrating our career pathways with the soft skills training that we'd like to put together for our students. And the reason why we do that is because we've had an incredible amount of retention over the years. We've had almost, in some states, 80% retention of people who've actually been employed, stayed on the job for at least 3 years, and been able to successfully navigate the workforce field. And so we're very happy with what we've been doing with that. That's been our staple, our success marker. And so 20 years, you can go to the next slide if you'd like to. That's the basic pathway. So of course you all already know the local need. This is something that you all are not unfamiliar with as far as the unemployment that's in the community. What we're focusing on is 3 different areas of that, which is what they consider the underrepresented employee, meaning that they're not necessarily looked at as viable within it. We know that they're a viable resource as far as people that can go into the workforce. But a lot of times that certain communities, especially LMI communities, are kind of overlooked. And you all already know this. I don't have to give you all a run or play-by-play with that. But some of our goals too are to assist people in obtaining work that's not only sustaining them financially, but also giving them upward mobility. That's our goal, is to make sure that not only are they self-sustaining, but they're in meaningful careers, that they're in things that they will stick to. That, hey, this is something that's mentally good for me to work in. This is something that's emotionally good for me to work in. And then my stabilization will take place from that. The rest of it, the barriers that sometimes we're trying to get over are really more the mental barriers, and the physical barrier will be taken care of if we can take care of the mental barrier. And so that creates retention. And so that's something that we've learned in our 20-something years of workforce, is that when you deal with people's head, as far as how they see themselves in the workplace, then the other barriers generally take care of themselves. So we also want to help people to overcome mental constructs. This is stuff that we've actually already seen take place. And I'd love for you guys to be able to come out to our graduation on Monday. We're having it at Del Mar Divine on the 21st. If any of you want to stop by, you can hear some of the stories of the students who are going through Employ St. Louis, and who are saying, hey, this is changing my life. We are finding, just statistically, and some of these things are on this board right here for the local need, that people now, since COVID, are not necessarily underemployed or unemployed. Now they're employed, and they're saying, hey, I want to change my career. I want to change my life. I want to do something different. And so we're running into that. So our stats just from this class alone, almost 60% of the people are bachelor degreed. Another 20% had master's degrees, and 1 person is headed towards a PhD. These are all people who took this cohort, and we were amazed, we were blown away by the fact that this is not a market that is just for the underemployed or unemployed any longer, but it's for anyone really who's employed. And so there's a plethora of people that we're tapping into who are saying that I want to do something different in the career field. So I think the St. Louis County Workforce Development would have a real good tie-in with us, great synergy as far as being able to capitalize on what, and when I say capitalize, I mean human capital, in what's in St. Louis and keeping people in St. Louis. This is it's a plus for us. And so I could talk about this for hours. So you guys can flip to whatever slide you need to from that point, and then I don't want to take up all you all's board meeting talking about just us. So, but we could do that.
Thank you, Pastor Jenkins. Maybe we should move to
Yeah.
the last slide, Loris, if you could.
Thank you.
That talks about some of the ways that that we can maybe this one right here. This looks good. I think you were just kind of touching on, this is a good segue because you were just kind of teed up, Pastor Jenkins, the collaboration with St. Louis County and how this kind of fits. So maybe if you could talk through some of the ways that you envision the R&R marketplace and this concept that you have partnering with this local workforce development board, and maybe where there's areas of strategic synergy in the two.
Most definitely. So because of the way that we're set up, we're primed for not only the partnership with the St. Louis County Workforce Development, simply because we've created an ecosystem inside of this plaza that will overlap in services. So that means that someone who is in the workforce development that needs childcare, that's available. Someone that's in the workforce that wants to deal with or wants to work in the healthcare industry, which is one of our major, of course, vendors for workforce is, of course, healthcare here in St. Louis. But at the same time, too, it's also one of the vendors that has the hardest time finding viable people who want to work in that field or who are trained to work in that field. So us having a nursing school there, also having the workforce development integrated with the workforce there as well, right on the ground, will give all of us together as like a triage, like almost like like going into a hospital. Like you really can find what's absolutely needed to not only plug the problem, but also then systemically be able to cast a net wider or broader into those fields. And I know that's the workforce development, St. Louis County's goal as well, under the governor, is to make sure that our workforce in St. Louis is covered, that we actually are doing the work in recruitment of the people who live in the communities as well. And so one of the other things too is that we also have synergy too in how we want to overcome the barriers. When I was looking at you all's site and just all the different things as far as you all's goals, that is in alignment with our goals as well. It's not just about people getting a $15 an hour job, but it's about them being able to not only sustain their families, but how long can they sustain their families? What does longevity look like? What does generational wealth look like? What is closing the gap on what is taking place in low to moderate income communities when it comes to how basically really how they're seen, but then also how they're honored really in the workforce. And so when I was reading you all's goals and things and all of that, to me came together as synergy for what this project means, and then what it ties together for what you all do as well. I love what the young man said at the beginning of the he said that you all are doing an incredible job in workforce. When we talk to people who work with you all and partner with you all in workforce development, we hear the same thing. So we're asking those same questions. Is St. Louis County a good partner? And so the same things you all are asking about us, we're also asking about you. Like, is this a good marriage? Could this really work? And so we're grateful that that we do have that in our county, that this is something that we can utilize for the people, and that it's not taking from the people, but it's actually adding to the community and creating not just wealth, but closing the gap for them as well. That's our goal.
Yeah, and I think you said, I'll just add too, that I think you noted already that some of the partners that you have already really cultivated to operate training programs are also currently contracted training providers for St. Louis County as well. Gateway Global is one, and I know Bell Brown Medical Institute is as well. So there's that kind of immediate connection. What that does is when individuals come into your location in Delwood, they will be expressing their interest in a variety of training opportunities potentially, and job opportunities. And the fact that St. Louis County already has the ability to potentially fund tuition to support individuals who might pursue a training program in those areas that you've cultivated relationships with, where we've also got those relationships firmly built. That will allow for a better experience for the participants, the customers, the residents of the community that come into your center, because we'll be able to refer them and connect them to WIOA training opportunities that that have
Absolutely.
connection to what you're providing. So
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the geospatial. So Gateway Global will actually have a satellite location inside of Employ St. Louis. So they actually have it. We're in the midst of building all of that out. So we're in construction right now, which is great. We're really excited about that. After 9 years, we're finally in construction, and things are going up. Greg, do you want me to share the timeline of like when we're into the
yeah,
spaces or?
mhm,
Okay.
that'd
So next year, 2023, August 1 is the opening day of phase one. And so that's what we're slated for right now. So our development team is giving us an August 1 date of being able to move in. And so when we say phase one, that's all of the areas that we consider to be like retail areas, and then all of our pillars, except for the multiplex, are all included in phase one.
Right. Well, maybe we should allow board members an opportunity to kind of weigh in on what you just shared and give their thoughts or comments or questions. Would that be good with you right now?
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's a great picture you put up, Loris. That's wonderful. That gives a great view of the 91,000 square foot. I'd say it's 88 square foot, but somewhere they put 91, so we'll take the extra 2,000 or 4,000, whatever it is. Yeah.
Might I ask a question? This is Lee Metcalf.
I just wanted to say, this is Carolyn Seward, and I met Pastor
Yeah.
Jenkins a few years ago, and I am so excited about the progress that you have made, and looking at the fall of 2023, that is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations, and we'll look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Carolyn. This is such a pleasure to see you again. It's wonderful. I asked Carolyn to be my mentor. She was too busy for me. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I appreciate you being on here with us.
Hi, Pastor Jenkins. This is
Hi.
Gwen. This is Gwen Mizell, and I echo Carolyn's sentiments. I'm really happy to hear this presentation and excited about the prospects for, services that you're bringing that are so needed. So just quick question. Sounds like your part of the equation is to build kind of the soft skills area, and then to bring some connectivity to other partners that are getting at the more granular employment pathways. So being a part of Ameren, one of the pathways that we have always somewhat struggled with is making the connection to skilled craft from populations that might not normally have access, and really continuing to try to crack that code. So just want to put it out there that that's an area of interest for me. And then the question I have for you is, where do you start to measure the success factors of your efforts? Do you measure it at the exit of your touch with these populations with the soft skills, or do you measure it once they've connected with community partners and progress through a specific career pathway? And how sticky do you see folks, kind of, once they've gone through a pathway, are you looking at retention, and how long do they stay in those pathways? So just want to hear about metrics a bit.
Sure. So we are so this cohort that we just launched, that we just did, what we did was, and I just want to give you a backdrop. So we had been running what was considered to be the traditional classes of soft skills for many years. And this particular one, we just decided to do it a little bit different. So just like most organizations, we normally don't have a problem getting people in because we're so ingrained in the community as far as numbers. But when we launched this particular cohort this way, we changed some of the language. So we also had to change our own mental constructs. So we changed the language, we changed it to a cohort, and we decided to bring in what was considered to be executive coaches. So we brought in C-level people. Some of them were like Adrian Bracy, Tad Edwards, and we said, hey, come talk to our students about exposure to a different kind, even though they have different career pathways that they were on, our students, than maybe some of our executive coaches. But what they got an opportunity to hear was, what does success really look like, and what kind of mind constructs do I need to change to really actually be on a different pathway when it comes to the career that I'm choosing? And so it was really, and that was, so that was one of our first markers. We did an application with every single one of those students, and we do an application with all of our students. And the key things that we're looking for in those applications is, one of them is that, are they entry level? Where are they at on the income block? And then if we are after the class and the exit, getting them additional, not only additional employment, but raising the level of their income. Like what are we actually inputting into them that's allowing them to be able to raise the level of their income? So for instance, if they were a $45,000 a year worker, and then after our program and they go through those tracks and they raise to a $65,000 income, we're tracking whether or not we're bringing economy into the community, and that it's going to be able to stay there. So we're not only, we have mentors also that attach to each of those students, and so we're tracking those students, and the goal is to track the students from a 3-year period and then also to a 5-year period. Right now we have a plan for the 3-year period, and we're working on a plan for a 5-year period. So after they go into their career track, then we're like, okay, how long, the retention rate when we used to work with Jobs for Life only solely, we were able to track whether or not they stayed on the job, retention, and then whether or not they were promoted. And so that was our goal then at that time, was, is there promotion? Now we want to track beyond promotion. We want to see what kind of economy or what kind of dollars and cents are we really seeing take place with each one of these students. And so that is some of the things that we're looking at as well.
Great,
I hope
thank
that
you.
answered your question. Okay,
It did,
great.
thank you.
Wonderful.
This is Lee Metcalf. Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Could I ask you just to give me a little more content? As you mentioned, 4 areas that you're focused on in pathways. Just talking a little bit more about geospatial and IT. What's
Yes.
happening in those 2 worlds?
So in one world, so for instance, with the IT, we partner with it's Savvy Coders who we work with. And so once people are inside of, and so we've had a couple of students that have done the IT track right now from the new method that we've just employed. And the Savvy Coders with the IT training, that's going well. I think we had a student, a young man actually, who wasn't sure if he even wanted to go to college. He actually belongs to our church. And so we said, well, hey, why don't you just take the soft skills training and start there? And so he took the soft skills training. He was like, wow, I finished something. I was able to finish that. And so he decided to go on to the Savvy Coders and finish that. He finished that as well. In finishing with Savvy Coders, he also was able to see now that, well, maybe I could go to college. And so it actually, he didn't stay in the IT field per se, but it was a bridge for him to see that he could actually go further if he'd like to. And so those are some of the things that we're seeing as well. As far as geospatial, we're waiting actually on, so Zakita has right now a waiting list. And so we have a couple of young people that are actually slated to go through geospatial with her program as we speak. And so we're just waiting for her to get back with us and say, hey, they got a slot or they can get in. But as far as the geospatial, we're seeing people go through the GIS training more so, like the mapping, as opposed to maybe some of the I don't know the other skill levels, but we're seeing the GIS and the mapping. Pastor Ken is on here. He can speak to that a little bit better too, with some of the people that he's actually put through to the geospatial program, and share that as well.
So my
I'm
sense
not
is
sure.
partnering with organizations that have IT curriculum.
Yes.
Are you creating curriculum?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
I'm
Yeah,
really,
no, we're not. We don't want to even step into that arena that way. So we're doing strictly just soft skills, and we're marrying those soft skills trainings with our partners that are doing IT and that are doing the geospatial. But we're not doing any curriculum when it comes to healthcare or anything like that at all. None of those areas. We're partnering with all of those areas.
so we're all aware that one of the biggest missing pieces for a lot of well-intentioned programs is that they don't have the wraparound resources that go along with it. You do, and I applaud
We
that.
do.
And so I'd like to send you, some on the board know an effort that I'm in the middle of that is is literally providing those technical skills, trying to also provide the professional, i.e. soft skills. I already have the jobs. So that's the other question.
Yeah.
I'd love to partner with you around how we help each other. We've worked in this case directly with the CIOs who have all been saying, I don't have enough people. So Gwen is well aware of this because Ameren is one of the participants. And the
Yeah.
issue then is, how do we get to these young folks sooner before they get into extremis? And they're already struggling with a game plan. And so
Yeah.
we're working with the superintendents across all of the school districts to get the young folks to help them understand what the opportunities are and then line up a really focused curriculum delivery that brings them right into that job. The job's already there. It's getting to it. But I need a lot of wraparound. They've got all kinds of bumps in life. They're trying to sort out while they're trying to stay the course to learn the technical skills. And so I think there could be a really good partnership. As a matter of fact, I have probably 5 young people who are well past high school. They're well into their 20s that we've come across that our program doesn't to. I believe they could be well supported out of yours, and working with Goodwill and other organizations. Love to talk more. I really very much would like to meet and talk with you and have you meet some of our staff as well.
We would love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're open.
Can you guys
We,
can you
yeah,
guys hear
there you
me?
good. There you are, kid.
Oh, I wanted to speak to that, and I think Lee, you're speaking our language. I think our strength, particularly as community leaders and pastors, it's the wraparound services. It's what we do every day, being entrenched in the community, and so our goal in the partnerships are to connect to the subject matter experts like yourself, and so we have the ability because of being in the community for 25 plus years to identify candidates and students. We have our strength is being able to connect them and put them in the pathways and then walk alongside them. One of the advantages I tell people, um, we have as pastors and being in the community is that folk don't want to go through these programs and see us and not have shown up for work and not have done the things that they say they were willing to do. So we get to walk alongside of people. And I think that's, really what I'm saying is that it's our DNA to walk alongside people. So we don't just go through a 6-week, 8-week, 12-week, we stay involved in your life. And I think that's when we look at the data over the years where we see a high success rate is that we've been able to walk alongside people, see them grow, see them get married, see them buy homes, see them have children, and be a part of that process with people from a community perspective. And so, what you're talking about, wraparound services, it's organic for us. And so this center just allows us to be more specific in providing some of the other areas of care like behavioral health, opioid addiction, addiction recovery, early childhood, support, um, the workforce development. Those things are the technical expertise, but the DNA of who we are and what we do are those wraparound services that you speak about. So we're pretty excited about that, and it is key to seeing people succeed and have economic mobility in their lives.
Agreed. Look forward to talking more. We absolutely need to talk more. This is
We're looking forward to it.
there's a partnership emerging between business, nonprofits, and the education community that I think is worth talking more about. Greg, you and I have had some conversations about this. It's an alliance that has to grow because none of us can do this by ourselves. And if we're talking about dozens of kids to save, okay, maybe you can do it by yourself. But we need to save hundreds. And so,
Mhm.
and they're there and they're capable. They're really amazing
They are.
people.
They're so brilliant. Yeah,
It
they
just
are.
needs some help. And so I'm actually asking Filament to bring some senior leaders together because, to be blunt, we're still tripping over each other. We're
Mhm.
we're subdividing resources. We've got 4,525 nonprofits just in this region, and that's a number that Val Patton gave me. And so she's pulling her hair out, trying to figure out how do we all come together, focus what we're doing, and get to these young folks, get to those folks in need, and get it done. And so part of what Ameren is doing is that they've got the jobs. What Access
Yeah.
Point is doing is partnering with them to continue to get the right skill sets right out of high school. We need organizations like yours and Carolyn's and others that are bringing
Yeah.
those resources, that case management infrastructure to help them, so that I don't have a young man who basically doesn't have a place to stay, but he's looking at a $60,000 job at Edward Jones, and he's about to
Mhm.
if I can't figure out how to solve some of these other pieces. I got him the technical skills, but then he's been with a girlfriend for 2 years. Now she's going to have a baby. And he's
Yeah.
about to lose the whole thing if we don't help him through that, understand what's happened. His mother's just been in a car accident. She wants to move the whole family to Chicago, pull him out of St. Louis. We're going to lose this young man we've invested in. It's those kinds of stories. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but there are hundreds of those. It's not
Mhm.
that hard to fix these problems, but it is for them. It's not for us if we get these things aligned up, find out prescriptively what they need and how to help them, and not embarrass them. They're scared to death that there's some kind of a government thing they got to fill out and all these documents. And that's where Greg and I try to figure out, how do I not have to go all the WIOA fund documentation and all of those issues? How do we make it lighter touch, quick, focused, and keep them on track to get to these jobs, and then they can continue their education, because we're dedicated to getting them to a BA. Even though the CIOs are all saying, I don't need a degree anymore. Yeah, they do. They won't be able to stick and compete with the other people in that company if they don't continue their education. So our commitment to them is multi-year, 4 or 5 years until they get that BA, plus the fact that they've been in a great job in a corporation, building a career. Now you've got the duet, the two pieces that come together, and they can get on with life. Nothing's going to stand in their way after that. But it takes that combined effort, which is what I hear you saying, Pastor, and I'm so delighted. And I want to talk more with you on how to bring my world and your world together, and others,
Yeah.
because people like Sam over at Cortex, he's doing a great job, but he's out there on his own in geospatial land. So now we got another leg that he's asking money to fund. And anyway, it's just stuff like that I would offer. Maybe even this workforce development infrastructure is a mechanism for bringing even more unity and coordination in the workforce development area. Um, Sorry, I'm on my horse
No,
here.
no, you
Yeah, we
definitely,
agree.
we
Yeah.
agree. I want to say
Yeah.
this too quickly. I think what you're describing is one word, and I think that's the unique value proposition we bring to the table as community leaders, and particularly as pastors, is trust. The people that you're looking to identify, they trust us. And because we are in community with folk every single day, like we get off this call, we're going into the community in the code, and we're doing a mobile food market, and we're doing that in partnership with DoorDash and St. Louis Food Bank. And so we'll feed about 700 plus people today. But we'll be out there with people, standing in the cold, talking to them about these kind of things. We build trust, and this trust is not built overnight. We've been building this trust over 25 years. And so the advantage is, when you describe a young man like you're talking about, when folk like Beverly and I say, hey, here's a better pathway, they trust us and they listen to us. And so we get to leverage that trust and the relationships that we have in the community to walk alongside people to see them be successful. So we're excited. You're definitely speaking our language. And, sounds, if, in any other setting, I'd be saying amen right now. But this is exciting us as well.
And I'll just add to kind of build off some of the comments. Appreciate board members weighing in and offering feedback. It's really the point that was just made is really important about coordination and thinking more systemically in workforce development, and also in this case thinking more about trusted partners in the community, and having place-based efforts. I think we have a number of affiliate sites currently, North Oak Plaza and our Met Center, where Carolyn is and FWCA is based, are really critical resources to the neighborhoods that surround them, as well as the broader community. And likewise, this project that you all have developed, I think, helps us to also expand the reach of services to the community that we aim to serve through workforce development. And it's another investment in North County too, which if you heard any remarks from County Executive Page last week, he noted that North County is a focus of the administration and St. Louis County as we move forward. So I think this is, again, in lockstep with our efforts towards addressing disparities in employment outcomes and also promoting greater levels of equity too. But it's really got to be a place-based strategy, because we can't expect that all of the people that we want to serve are going to come into the job center out at I'm sorry, the job center out at Northwest Plaza in St. Anne. We have to think more about where the people are and how do we get more resources to the folks that we aim to serve. And so the board can revisit this at the February meeting and kind of discuss what partnership could look like. But we just thought it was a good opportunity to present, have pastors plural, Jenkins, present to you all today to give you a snapshot of this project. And it sounds like there's some potential connections already that can be worked on immediately. So appreciate board members looking at that. But really want to consider this for, as we move forward too, as again, a possible location that we invest resources in, as well as that we at least look to make sure that there's a strong referral network process set up as we move forward. So we'll look at those options in February. I just want to thank the Pastor Beverly Jenkins and Ken Jenkins. I know Gigi McMullen is also on the call as well, and she's been working as a project manager on this project. So thanks all for your work, and thanks for spending some time with us today to walk us through this presentation. If you do have any more questions for them before our next meeting, we have contact information, and we can share that if you don't mind, Beverly or Ken, us sharing their information with the board.
By all means, please do.
Yep. And is there anything else that you want to say, or are we good? I just wanted to make sure I captured that and recapped, where we feel like there's connections.
No, I think we have bombarded you all's meeting, and so we're grateful that you all gave us this much time. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you. The enthusiasm is it's palpable. So we just appreciate you all so much.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and move forward with the agenda now, which really returns back to me for a director's report. And the only thing I'll say is and I'm sorry, I've switched now to my phone because my laptop was having Wi-Fi issues. So I think I probably sound clear, but you can't see me easily at the moment. I apologize for that. So what I'll say for my report is right now I'm spending time along with several staff from our workforce development team in Kansas City working on, learning, I would say in this case, a number of things that will help us in some key areas in our workforce development efforts. One is around apprenticeship, and the state of Missouri hosted a Missouri apprenticeship conference, summit the last couple days. We had Derek Collins, our business services manager from St. Louis County, as well as Harold Ryan Pierce, who works closely with Derek in business services, to attend that meeting. I attended a portion of the meeting yesterday, and it's really exciting to hear the energy around apprenticeship for the state of Missouri. If you'll recall, apprenticeship is really a work and learn model where individuals get training more or less on the job and get paid while they're pursuing that training. And many of our friends in labor have really kind of carved out the path for apprenticeship, but more and more companies outside of the skilled trades are looking at apprenticeship as a useful model for them. And so there's great opportunity for the St. Louis County Workforce Development Board to really carve out a path in this apprenticeship space to create new apprenticeship opportunities. Right now, we currently have several of our healthcare programs that are being implemented as apprenticeship, but we want to do more to diversify the industries, to diversify the apprenticeship experiences. And as you all remember, at the last meeting, we announced that St. Louis County is part of a DOL grant, $5.8 million DOL grant in partnership with other local workforce development boards and BioSTL to really expand apprenticeship, specifically in healthcare, the biosciences, and education fields. I'll just give you a couple quick stats that were shared with us this past week. about apprenticeship, just for your information. I found these interesting. One is that Missouri is number 3 in the nation for new apprentices. It's 4th in the nation for completed apprenticeships. It has currently 16,983 active apprentices enrolled in programs through the various apprenticeship opportunities in the state. And there's currently looks like 191 new occupations that have been registered as apprenticeship. The top occupations right now, again, are mostly driven by the labor unions, electricians, sheet metal workers, plumbers. Those where a lot of the apprenticeship activity is. But more and more, we're seeing a rise in apprenticeships around truck driving, medical assistant, heavy equipment mechanic, teacher aide, even. And so there's diversity in the types of apprenticeships that can be offered. A lot of times, I think employers might be hesitant or reticent to develop an apprenticeship program because, especially if it's a registered apprenticeship, for a number of reasons that might involve, paperwork. It might involve, monitoring and those kinds of things. But
Paperwork is horrendous, Greg.
what'd you say?
The paperwork is horrendous.
Yes. So thank you for those comments, Lee. Yeah, so there is some red tape involved, but again, I think that there's obviously growth in our state, and there's a call across the state to really double down on this initiative to expand apprenticeship throughout Missouri. So we'll be working and providing updates to this board in the months ahead on our efforts as part of that grant that we have. But really eager to develop new apprenticeship programs, opportunities, and so that we don't just offer healthcare, medical assistant training, or CNA training, that we do more to serve the various industries that are called out in our local plan in information technology and transportation, in bioscience, to really build those clusters that we need. So we gained some good insights from this summit. I know Derek and Harold are going to take some things back and share with our team soon. So like I said, we're now focused on taking the learnings and really moving towards operationalizing some of it. But wanted to share that event just happened. And then the other thing that we want to focus on this week, or that I'm focused on this week, and members of our team are focused on, is the EO Summit, the Equal Opportunity Summit. You normally hear an update from Angela Irby, our EO officer, on equal opportunity related activities. In this week, we're going to be working with members across the Midwest, actually different states, to learn about best practices and equal opportunity, and also to gain more insights in terms of what that means for local workforce development areas. There's equal opportunity, if you remember, is really all about how do we ensure that participants that we're serving aren't discriminated against on the work sites, aren't experiencing discrimination in their training opportunities, that our job center is the most inclusive job center it can be, in meeting the needs of all people that come into the center. And so we have legal requirements, and a lot of times when we create new programs, we have to have our partners sign EO forms acknowledging that they are working towards reducing or eliminating, preventing discrimination from occurring in their training programs or in their work sites. So this opportunity to this week is really to learn some best practices again, and to learn more about what's required of local workforce development boards to ensure effective monitoring, that all those things are actually taking place as we work with these partners. But it'll be a good opportunity for network and relationship building too, with colleagues in different states as we do that. So we'll provide, Angela will provide at some point, probably in February at our next meeting, a recap or an update on some of the things that we gained from this training and this summit over the next few days. But just wanted to give you that high level overview of where I'm spending my time this week, and also to remind the board that those are two important elements of the work that we do. I think at this point we can move forward through the financial reports, unless there's any questions or comments on what I just shared. Nope. Okay. So Loris is flashing up our expenditure report. This is the PY funds, the WIOA PY funds. These are the funds that are really our formula allocations and really are the bulk of the programs that we offer. So you can see, kind of looking over at the far right column, the percent used, where we stand with each of those funds. Obviously, leading with our adult program and our youth program is nearly 50%, as we're almost 50% through the program year here. And then the biggest area for improvement in our expenditures is dislocated worker. One thing that we might look at in February is transferring some funding from dislocated worker to the adult program, which we have the right to do with board approval, to bring more resources in the area that's being utilized the most, which is the adult program. But dislocated workers are also a population that we've seen, periodically in certain months, there's more dislocated workers than adults that we're serving. So it kind of fluctuates in terms of the need in the community and those that are taking advantage of our services. But we continue to promote some, innovative program opportunities. We think whether it's adult work experience, incumbent worker training, we can use dislocated worker funds to support those initiatives. So our attention, our focus is on fully expending that, obviously, by the end of 2023, the program year 2023, or June 30th of 2023. But this is, this is something that we have to, again, explore multiple pathways for. So looking at, again, transferring funds and looking at programs that really are geared towards looking at dislocated workers. Another thing that we're in the process of doing is really through leadership of our new one-stop operator, Kelly Lingle, syncing up some of the partnerships that we have in our job center to focus on a stronger referral system. So, for instance, we have a number of staff that work for the Office of Workforce Development that are in our job center, and they mostly provide support to customers needing to complete their unemployment assistance paperwork. And in many cases, those individuals could be eligible potentially for the dislocated worker funds, whether it's a training program or work experience or some other opportunity. So leveraging the partnerships that we have in the center, increasing referrals through that program is another strategy that we can ensure that we increase the population of dislocated workers that are able to take advantage of our services. But I'm pretty confident, obviously, in the adult program, fully expending those by the end of the year, as well as the youth program, given where we are right now. Any questions about the WIOA formula funds? Okay, Loris, if you could flash up the other expenditures. Okay, so most of these programs here, we received the allocations for this past July. So they begin July 1 of 2022. They expire June 30th of 2023. We had to recently run most of these programs through the county council for us to fully approve and be able to allocate funds. I attended multiple county council meetings in the last 2 months to ensure that we answered any questions that the council might have about the Skill Up program, for instance, or TANF Jobs League. But those are now grants that we can begin utilizing. And as you see, the amounts are not as significant as the WIOA formula allocations. And we have historically been able to spend these funds, but we're going to start operationalizing these programs in the next month. And these are programs that are funded through the Department of Social Services at the state and are really meant to augment and support the WIOA programs that we have, the WIOA programs that we have. Then that covers, again, TANF, Jobs League, Skill Up, the FNS Skill Up, and the TANF Skill Up programs. On the WIOA Equal Opportunity Officer, we also received the standard allocation that we typically utilize. I think Angela will be using those funds for a variety of EO-related activities, and a portion contributes to her salary as well. But again, as we go through this EO summit this week, there might be some good insights that we gain from this summit that can enable us to utilize those funds fully as well. And then finally, I actually went from the bottom up, but the top program that we're tracking expenditures for is our COVID-19 humanitarian grant. Do you remember we've had a number of conversations about that? And the expenditures for that program were a much higher percentage of spending than we had been previously at board meetings, where we hovered around 30%. So we are increasing our expenditures there. We've also had a grant modification with the state of Missouri that has, I think, increased the percentage of expenditures, because we ultimately released $30,000 or so. And this is something that was shared at previous board meetings to support another region that wanted to continue participating in the grant. If we see, as we move into 2023, that there's a need for more funds to support participants in the COVID-19 grant, we can request additional funds from the state of Missouri at that time. But at this point in time, our goal is to simply get to the point where we're close to full expenditures of that program. And we are making progress. We kept a number of folks in temporary employment positions, and they're benefiting from the state's new waiver that allows for additional hours, even if they had only been, even if they had already been enrolled for a year. It was only supposed to be a year originally, but some of these participants have continued their work experience. One of them in particular, Ramona Brown, who works out at Room at the Inn, she's still dealing with homelessness and the impact that has on her family, but she's also being paid out of this grant to earn income and work while she's at the shelter, doing work to support sanitization efforts to continue to address the threat of COVID-19 at the work site. So she's able to benefit from this grant. It's helping to support greater stability for her family, and she's able to continue participating. We continue to see that with other participants too, placed at various locations. And then we are enrolling more participants in our training programs for that grant as well, to ensure that we fully expend the grant. Any questions related to these expenditures? Okay. Well, we'll continue to focus on our expenditures, continue to focus on making sure that we offer new programs that benefit our customers and that also help us spend our money faster. That is a continued challenge for us, because we do have so much funding from the state of Missouri as a region, and we know there's people that can benefit from it. So expanding our services and looking at partnerships like the one that we just learned of with the R&R Marketplace in Delwood. If they're making more referrals to WIOA programs through that community-based effort, that helps us to spend our money as well, and make sure it gets in the hands of the right people that we're looking to serve. So moving on in the agenda, the next area of focus is our workforce development reports. And Loris Williams, you'll say a few words for us about contracts and RFP status. I know the board has voted at the last meeting to allow us to move forward on the RFP process. So if you could touch on kind of where we are with some of those elements, I'll turn it over to you, Loris.
Really quickly, in the RFP process, the scopes of work are in the process of being developed. So we're moving along in that. We have gotten our designation from the procurement office. So right now we are in the process of developing the letter that goes to the county council to ask for permission to use the RFP process. Once that permission is obtained, then we will move forward with actually posting those RFPs. So we are hoping to have them ready to hit the street maybe as early as January. So keep your fingers crossed, say your prayers, whatever your method is. we need good juice going forward to get those moving. As far as the contracts go, we are in the process. The contracts are going through the last legal review. We've had a number of contracts where we've sent them through, and then they get to the legal piece, and there are problems or there are questions or recommendations. So that's kind of the struggle that we've had this year. But I think that we are in the last go round. So our subrecipients should be looking for WIOA contracts within the next week or so. So yay, and thank you to our legal team for their diligence in keeping us legal. So we are moving forward. The MOU has finally been signed. We got that late last week. So our MOU partners, all of our required WIOA partners, will be receiving their fully executed copy of our MOU. Man, this has been an ordeal, but you know, I'm still smiling. Greg is still smiling. Our partners are still committed. So we are doing well with that. So big ups to everybody who helped get that piece done. And as far as the board goes, we do have one board member, a new person who's already gone through the interview process. So that name will be is forwarded to the county executive's office to get their name up to the state. And that is Joshua Heap with Boeing. He was a recommendation from John Frederick, as you all remember, Mr. Frederick. He didn't leave the board without giving us somebody else. So kudos to Mr. Frederick. I know he's not on the call, but always one of my favorite people. Anyway, so we will be presenting Joshua Heap's name to the state board for approval. We also have two other applicants who we will be meeting with. I think Greg has actually met with one person, so we'll be scheduling that person for a meeting with Director Hayes and with our chair, Mr. Archer. And once that happens, if they approve, then we'll go forward with those people as well. So things are moving. It's been kind of a grind, but thank you all so much for your support always. I truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate it as we work diligently to get all this stuff done. So if nobody has any questions for me, I will mute my computer.
Loris, I do. I
Yes.
want to touch on a couple things you said. Can you for the board just remind them again what the purpose of the MOU is? I know you said it's with our required partners, but just want to make sure that it's been a while since the board has probably discussed or even looked at what this MOU is. Can you talk about the importance of the MOU for a moment and what its purpose is?
I'd be happy to. And I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, Greg, when you talked about Kelly working with our required partners to bring them into the job center. So the MOU, there are 19 required partners that WIOA requires us to partner with to support the one-stop delivery system. They are anywhere from our subrecipients to the AEL provider, which Mary Grout is with them. We have people who receive block grants that are on there, the Department of Social Services. So a lot of different partners that are required to partner with us to help support the one-stop delivery system. So what the MOU does is negotiate with all those partners to determine how they will help support the infrastructure of the one-stop center. And then what Kelly will do with all of those people is then help them fulfill their obligations to us. So for instance, we have some of, like AARP, for instance, is one of our partners because they received the CSEP grant. So because they're one of our partners, what they do is they say, okay, we'll come in and we'll provide volunteers to work at the job center, or we'll come in and we'll do presentations or workshops for, clients that are 55 plus, or some of our partners say we'll be a referral. We'll anytime you refer people to us, or we'll refer people to you. we'll put flyers in the job center, just all kinds of different ways that they help us help our clients and then help their clients. So it's just that kind of a partnership. And we're required to do this every 2 to 3 years. So we have to renegotiate all of that. So finally, all of that piece has been done. We've got signatures from everybody. Everybody is required, all required partners are required to review the MOU and agree to everybody else's contribution, and then all sign off on it. So you can tell, sometimes it's hard for us to get 3 people scheduled for a meeting. So to get 19 people to agree how they're going to provide services and then how we're going to hold them accountable to that sometimes can be a bit of an ordeal, but it's done now. So, I know my camera's not showing, but I have a big old toothy grin on my face. So all of the partners will be receiving their copies of that signed agreement. Anything else, Greg, that I'm missing?
No, I
I'm
think
trying
that's
to-
great. And Kelly, as you mentioned, is helping us to set up our first in-person meeting with our WEO required partners. Since 2020, since I've been here, we really have had engagement with these WEO required partners due to the pandemic and other reasons, though we didn't really have much in the way of introductions, getting a chance to meet some of the folks that are part of these different organizations. So we're looking to plan a meeting in December with the WEO required partners and really build those relationships so that we can really work in sync, because we are a one-stop system, and these partners, make it that they make it so that there's opportunities to really link up the different services so that we can, to Lee, your earlier point about support services and meeting the needs of the people we serve. There's a lot of resources that these different organizations can bring to the table if we fully leverage the relationships we have with them. And so kudos to Kelly for working to operate or get that operationalized at MOU, not just to have the MOU on paper, but to actually make it meaningful and real, and to hold the partners and us collectively accountable for working together to bring more services and more resources to the people. One other point, Loris, I wanted to ask you to elaborate on for the board, or just give some insight to, is we do have, and this is under new business as an item, but I think since you already teed it up, we can just stay on the topic. But board vacancies is a real issue. We have a number of board vacancies, particularly our in our business representation. Some of our board members are also potentially pending vacancies, although that's not necessarily finalized yet. So this is only important because as we move into 2023, I believe our board recertification is coming up again either next year or the year after. So we want to make sure that we fill our board with engaged members. Our board chair, Jason, has been doing an excellent job of being, when he's in rooms with potential, especially employer partners, of getting them not only connected to our services, but also looking at some low-hanging fruit in terms of board recruitment. And so we appreciate you, Mr. Chair, for all you're doing. But I think this is one of the key charges for our board collectively, is to think about good fits to join this team, to join this board, and who really buy into the vision, mission, and values that we all promote through our work, and to give us some good referrals. In the past, Vanessa, you've given us some great referrals. I think Mr. Henry on our board is one of your referrals. So we appreciate, again, any thoughts or recommendations you might have, and you can feel free to send those to Loris. But Loris, can you just kind of quickly tell us how many, what spots we need to fill, or is it in your report? I can't remember if it's in your report. If it's in your report, then no need to elaborate too much on it. Okay, I couldn't really hear you, Loris. What did you say?
Said it is in my report.
Okay.
The spaces that we have.
Okay, great. Well, I just wanted to make sure we drew attention to that. We'd like to we've been reaching out to some prospective members, and more to come on whether or not they move through the process. I think Loris mentioned Josh Heap, for instance, and hopefully we'll have him replacing John Frederick soon, who served so long on this board. And as you think of folks that you're meeting in the community who you think might be a good fit based on those categories that Loris wrote down where there's vacancies. We'd appreciate any recommendations that you might have, and we can do some outreach and encourage folks to apply and then go through our process to ultimately join the board. Okay, well, thank you, Loris. The next report that we want to have is from Dr. Manning. As you all remember, at the last meeting, we talked about the risk assessments, program risk assessments. This is a new policy that we're implementing this year at the requirement of the state of Missouri. The Office of Workforce Development, per an issuance, they're requiring us to do a risk assessment of our subcontractors. And this is something that's to be done on an annual basis. And so the reports that you've seen are really reflecting PY21, which is the last program year. So not necessarily reflective of PY 2022 yet. We'll have that report at the end of this program year. But before I turn over to Dr. Manning, I just want to kind of give some context for risk assessments. They're really meant to be tools to ensure that the board is assessing any areas of risk as we work with our partners to deliver services to the participants enrolled in our programs. And so there are certain criteria, factors that we were asked to look at and then objectively score based on what was noted in terms of performance or other areas that that the state considers essential to evaluating risk. And then ultimately we are to work with those partners to mitigate any risks that might arise from that. This is really, a collaborative opportunity with our subrecipients or subcontractors as well, looking at the need to ensure that we provide whatever technical support resources that we need as we maintain accountability for whatever areas of improvement are needed to address risk, and know that ultimately at the end of the day, our success as a local workforce development board is dependent on our subrecipients' success. Their success is our success, and our success is their success. So we want to work together to address any areas of concern and then move forward. So with that, I'll let Dr. Manning. Dr. Manning, we got about a half an hour left in the meeting, so maybe if you want to talk, I know you have pretty detailed reports that you've already shared and board members have already seen. So if you could just give us a high level overview and maybe go into a little more depth on what I was sharing about the kind of the reasons for why we're doing this this year, because this is something that's new, the board hasn't seen before.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. So risk assessments are done in accordance with issuance 11/2021 and local policy attachment 4. And this is the sub-state monitoring policy that was updated end of 2021. And so this particular requirement is a Department of Labor, a DOL requirement that went into effect a couple years ago. But because OWD needed to put their parameters in place on how they would conduct their risk assessments of the regions, it gave us time to put our risk assessment rubric and standards and policy in place. So with that being said, the local regions are required now to do these risk assessments. It became a requirement in PY21. And the state is also required to do risk assessments on the regions. So I just want to let you guys kind of know how that funnels down. We get risk assessments. Our board gets a risk assessment from OWD as well. So I did want to put that out there. And so we did complete these risk assessments for our 3 vendors in PY21. I believe you guys all have the attachments. Greg, did we have the attachments to share, or they were in your previous packet?
Yeah, Dr. Manning, I think probably it's just, it's all in their packet. It'll be a little bit messy probably to show up on the screen. I'm not really sure how the formatting will work. I know last time we shared it was a little bit messier. Now I think Loris has the actual criteria up there, so that's good. But I think most members have those risk assessments in their packet. I mean, all members have those risk assessments in their packet.
Okay. So if you guys all have the risk assessments, again, these are risk assessments for the PY21 program year on all 3 of our vendors. Greg, so did you want me to go through these risk assessments to say which vendor did what, or is this something we want the board to review, or how did you want to handle that?
Yeah, maybe give a high level of some of the areas of that we've assessed as risk. If you want to do that, individually you can, or you can, kind of give some general themes that we've seen as the board looking at the potential areas of risk. And then of
Gotcha.
course,
Okay.
questions,
Okay.
giving the
Okay.
board some time to ask those questions would be good.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll start with International Institute. International Institute scored high on their risk assessments. And one of the reasons for this is their staff turnovers. During the pandemic, uh, International Institute was drastically impacted, and the population they serve was drastically impacted. They lost case managers. At one point, they didn't have, I think they had one case manager and no supervisor. And then we also found that some of the parameters that we had outlined in their contract was just not what they were. It did not fit with their organizational model anymore. So we have since worked with International Institute. They do now have a case manager and a supervisor, and we're also working with them on specific outcomes that we want to hold them accountable before, because while we hold our other vendors accountable for classroom occupational training for our clients, that's just not ideal for International Institute clients, as they do more employment, and their focus is mainly on employing their specific population. And so we're changing our parameters, we're adjusting our sales to make sure that what we are holding them accountable for fits the actual program model. So that's one thing we're doing to work with International Institute to ensure that we can bring this high risk level of assessment down. And as I said, they do now have a case manager and a supervisor that we're working with. We've trained a couple times. We're going to do some more training with them, but we're optimistic that we can get this high risk down to moderate. Does anyone have any questions on International Institute? Okay, the next one, as we look at Employment Connections risk assessment for PY21, as you can see, Employment Connections scored moderate on their risk assessment. They had no staff turnovers. They did not successfully meet their enrollments for PY 21. In the beginning, it got off to a slow start. Toward the end, it did pick up. And I must say that ongoing, they continue to improve and become subject matter experts in the area of WIOA. One of the reasons for the enrollments not being met, I would have to say, contributes to not only the ability to shore up their staff and things like that, but St. Louis County also, we had to deal with some technical and infrastructure issues when getting Employment Connection up and going in PY20. If you guys can remember, Employment Connection first got this contract in PY20. So, we got kind of off to a slow start, but as we went on and got everything shored up, put together, they are showing that they are becoming subject matter experts in the area of WIOA, and they're doing a good job. So again, Employment Connection got a moderate, no staff turnovers in PY21. Although OSY enrollments were not met, we took into considerations the reasonings behind that. Any questions on Employment Connection? So the last risk assessment is for Family and Workforce Centers of America, FWCA. FWCA got a high risk assessment on their review, and it's for several reasons. There's several factors behind this high risk assessment for FWCA. They did have staff turnovers. We charted it at 3, and that's because of our grading criteria. So once we reach 3, that's kind of like kind of like the cutoff, but it was more than 3. And then performance improvement plans, they did have 2. They're currently on 1. One was completed successfully. One is in progress. and this was done in July, guys. Again, this is for PY21. You can see in the comments it said we didn't have an OSO for a period, but we now have Kelly Lingle, who is doing a great job, I must say. Kelly Lingle is the OSO. Staff turnover 3 times, petitions that filled. Okay. And then as far as the enrollments, no, they didn't meet their youth ISY or OSY enrollment numbers. For adult dislocated workers, yes, they did not only meet, they exceeded for adult dislocated worker. For our training enrollments, we actually exceeded our cap for that. And then as far as staff disciplinary actions, there's been several disciplinary situations that the director had to get involved with. So we took that into consideration. So I guess what I should have went through first, guys, was to say, and you guys can see on your sheet, the things we take into consideration when doing these risk assessments is corrective action plans, performance improvement plans, staff turnovers and where staff shortage is covered, meeting mandatory enrollment numbers per contract, staff disciplinary actions, and questioned or disallowed costs. So those are the different areas we take into consideration when doing these risk assessments. And in doing that for PY21, FWCA did get a high risk. Yes, did get a high risk. Now, again, we are working with FWCA to correct some of these issues. They have hired staff. They've got new staff on board that will need to be shored up. The current performance improvement plan that they are on, they have been submitting their reports in a timely manner and have been training monthly in core areas to ensure that certain enrollment infractions dealing with file records and things like that don't continue to happen. So that's happening. I did want to put that out there. So any questions about FWCA? And again, what I do want to say is this is the first year that this is we've had to do this, and again, it is mandatory that we do these risk assessments. The state does them annually. We do them twice a year, but we report it annually because it's required to be reported annually. But why we have that 6-month caveat in there is so that we can adjust ourselves, and when we identify issues or things that may be problematic for our vendors, so that we can get in and troubleshoot and right some wrongs, before we get too far ahead. So what I do want to say is that is what we're doing with our recipients. We're trying to adjust ourselves and ensure that next year that we can get risk assessments of moderate for all our vendors. But again, all these risk assessments, they do tell us and highlight those areas that we need to work on as a team. So with that, Director Laposa, I'm not sure if there's more I need to speak on about these risk assessments, or if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I would say that we'll just if there's any questions generally about this process, we'll open it to the board to ask them. But Dr. Manning, that you mentioned at the beginning that the OWD is doing a risk assessment for our board as well. What is the time that have we received that report yet, or is that in process? I can't remember what you said about that. I just wanted to make sure the board knows.
I think right now I don't know if they're considering it the report card that we get I believe because as you know, the report cards are new. Those started a couple years ago. We get them quarterly. We're only supposed to get a risk assessment annually. I contribute the report cards that OWD does as part of our risk assessment. And so with that being said, I think that's something we may want to look into, Director Laposa, as far as how they would get out. But I do know that is why we have to do them. It's across the board. DOL requires the state to do them. The state requires us to do them. And again, it's according to OWD issuance 11/2021, which just came into play November of 2021, right? Which was last year. So these are pretty new for everyone. But they're a great tool to use. I think a lot of times we go through the year and we just work through and we troubleshoot through issues without specifying concretely and identifying those targeted areas that we really, really need to focus on. And one thing I can say these risk assessments did show are those areas that we needed to focus on and adjust. And one big area for me was the one with International Institute. Being able to go to the table with Mr. Hamilton, being able to go to the table with his team and say, hey, well, these parameters really don't fit what we do now, and being able to adjust that, it really helped us a lot, especially moving forward, with our vendors. But anyway, so does anyone have any questions? Okay, I'd like to let you guys know that OWD was on site the week before last. We did have our PMR, our Q2 programmatic monitoring review from OWD. We have an exit conference scheduled for them this week. But it was a good review. They came, they toured the center, they went over our different EO equipment that is mandatory that we have, our assisted technology. We got a thumbs up on that. Haven't got any reporting as to any questioned or disallowed costs. We're great with that. So I just want to say it was an overall great review. It was our second quarter review, and I look forward to the next couple of quarters this year. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dr. Manning. Thanks for reviewing the areas that we're focused on and also the ways that the subrecipients are working with us to address those areas, any progress that we have on that front. Thanks for your report. The next report is from Derek Collins. Derek, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, and before you start, Derek, I think for the sake of time, you have a lot outlined in your report that you provided in the board packet. So the only thing I would ask, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but the most recent thing that you participated in, which is the Apprenticeship Summit, is there any key takeaways that you think are worth kind of the board's knowledge and attention as
Yes,
we,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir. In addition to the stats that you shared earlier, the takeaways that I pulled down was it's centered around how to enhance or increase the relationships or partnerships under the apprenticeship program. So what I got back was the fact that we probably need to develop an engagement team, an outreach team, to speak with employers, educate employers about the benefits of an apprenticeship program, how it can assist them with their workforce, how it can save them the bottom line, and do that on a continuous basis. The other thing was establishing an outreach team that regularly engages with the workforce community and middle school, not starting at the collegiate level or the high school level, but the middle school level, educating the instructors and the young folks at that level, the possibilities of learning a trade or getting into an apprenticeship program and how it'll benefit them in years to come. Another area was regional collaboration. I'm very happy to share with you guys that Melissa Richardson down at Union, Missouri, we are embarking on our second partnership under an apprenticeship program. She's been very helpful with us partnering with employers regionally, locally, and I'm grateful for that. And I met Kayla Otto, who was out of Jeff City, and she and Harold and I discussed some possibilities. So working regionally is beneficial at growing the apprenticeship program. And then finally, the non-traditional sources of potential employees. We need to do a better job of identifying veterans and educating veterans, because the employers are looking for most qualified folks, and veterans, according to the stats that they shared, tend to be some of the highest in terms of employment. Another is returning citizens, and then those with disabilities. So these are areas that I like to share with the BSG team locally to see if we can target and put on our radar to do a better job as we go out and market the apprenticeship partnership possibilities with employers locally. That pretty much what I pulled out of the two-day event that Harold and I attended down at the, in Independence, Missouri, at the Apprenticeship Missouri Summit. Met a lot of wonderful people, a lot of workforce development professionals, heard a lot of best practices, And I look forward to putting it all together and developing a stronger team locally.
Thanks, Derek, and thanks for you and Harold going to that summit and getting these insights that will help us collectively improve our practice around apprenticeship. I know you have a number of other projects, a recent healthcare event that we had, some information about that and some of the results from that, as well as some emerging work experience projects underway. So feel free to take a look at your report, and if you have questions or want to connect with Derek on anything, feel free to reach out to him. You should all have his email at this point. And if not, ask me or Loris. We'll get it to you. All right. Thanks, Derek. Angela Irby is attending the EO Summit. I don't think she is on this call, and there was no update from Angela for us for today. But again, we expect that there will be an update after this summit that we have this week. So we'll move to the one-stop operator report. Kelly Lingle has provided a document that you all could review as well. So Kelly, if you could just give some, you've been with us now for a couple months. So anything that you feel right now that warrants the board's attention or from that report, you don't have to read the report, but anything that high level stuff that you want to share real quick, we'd appreciate it.
Sure, real quickly. Yeah, I've been working on bringing back some in-person meetings. I've gotten feedback from some staff that they'd really like to do that. We've had virtual meetings for the last couple of years with COVID, as we all know, and we've just had several new job center staff. You heard in the report from Dr. Manning that we've had some staff turnover. So my goal is to bring people together so that we feel more open to collaborate. And when you're in person, it's just easier to do that. So I've had in-person directors meetings, and we had some really great conversation in yesterday's meeting to bring people together and doing more of that, what Greg was referring to earlier with that referral service from the different internal partners. And we're working on doing that with external partners as well. Another thing that I've done is to establish a team building committee to bring at least one representative from all partners to talk about some things we can do as a team for that team building social activities, to have fun, to promote different causes. We did Breast Cancer Awareness Month last month and National Food Day, so we rallied around those causes. And then just other activities that we're looking to in November and December to bring a chance to for people to get to know one another better on a social level. And I've also been working with the business services group on some outreach strategies and implementation on creating awareness and trying to drive more traffic to the job center. We have recently reconnected with St. Louis Public Library, and we are going to be out in the community. So we have our job centers, we have our affiliate sites, and with the libraries, we have the ability to network in all areas of the county. So we've started work on that. So I'll be excited to report out at our next meeting on what some of that might look like. So I guess those are my highlights, Greg. Thank you for the opportunity to share.
No, thank you, Kelly, and thanks for, again, reinforcing kind of the message for today's board meeting, which is really about the importance of partnership, leveraging the partnerships, and making sure that we leverage the full talents of those who are part of our one-stop system, not only our required partners, but our staff. I think that a lot of what Kelly's been introducing is really helping to promote a stronger, cohesive team overall. So appreciate your work on that. The next report is really just the customer feedback survey. Y'all can see the JSSI survey data. It's in your report. It's just the latest report. We get those reports pretty regularly and are required to share those with you, rightfully so. We have mostly favorable views of customers who come into our job center, and many of them feel a sense of satisfaction with the services they receive, and often give shout outs to particular staff that are part of our welcome team that greet them. So we appreciate those good comments, but we're always looking for areas for improvement too. So there's a conversation that Kelly and I have been having about the data we collect and making sure that the services we offer within the job center are meeting the needs of the customers we have. So we're going to be introducing some new tools probably to assess the value of the services we offer, the desired services that customers in our community who come to our center seek. Because if you notice, the JSSI survey only gives you a sense of what the experience was like for folks who did visit, which is great. But we don't often get into the weeds on, what additional services might they find valuable, or what kinds of jobs are they really looking for? What kinds of training programs are they really looking for? So we're building in some data components as well as we move forward to build on the existing JSSI survey that we have. I just wanted to make that note. All right, in the remaining minutes, we have an old business item and a new business item. I want to say on the old business front that we discussed officers at our last couple meetings. Lee Metcalf graciously offered to put his hat in the ring for vice chair of our board. And so, and that would mean he would also be considered to serve on the executive committee. We'll actually do a vote at the February meeting as we start off the next year. But that's a position that we have a vacancy for, and appreciate Lee offering his hat. If anybody else is interested too, feel free to let us know. And also we have a treasurer position that's currently vacant. So we need to fill that as well. And then once we do that, we'll have a full executive committee with officers. Again, we have currently John Bowman was elected by this board at the last meeting. And he will serve as our parliamentarian moving forward through the terms of his election. So think about being a treasurer. That's somebody who's going to provide some more in-depth support to our fiscal team as we prepare our financial reports, myself as well, as we kind of discuss areas where we want to focus on at these board meetings related to our financial matters. So if you have experience in that area and you're interested in serving as an officer, and we'll do a good job of staffing you and making sure that you're well prepared for that role and responsibility. But let us know if you're interested in that. And for the new business item, we don't. I think we've already discussed the board vacancies. That's a pretty big deal, again, that we want to make sure that we're proactive in filling those vacancies. Again, Loris has a report where she identified what categories we're needing to fill. So review that, please, and give us your thoughts. But I don't think we need to have any more deliberation or discussion on the board vacancies or the officers, unless I'm mistaken in that view. Is there any comments or questions about the officers under old business, and then the board vacancies under new business? Okay. The final item then is calendar of meetings for next year, which, Loris, does that customarily require a vote? I believe it does, but I want to confirm. Loris?
Yes, it does. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It does require just a vote of approval, but we've lost our quorum.
Right. So what do we do in this situation to establish the schedule for next year, knowing that we've lost the quorum to actually vote to approve the next meeting date? This is where, if Mr. Bowman's on the line, is our parliamentarian. I don't know if he is. He's maybe one that had to drop off if he was here. Well, how about this? We'll review what's needed to get the formal calendar approved. One thing that I and we might need to do that at the start of the next meeting, but we'll figure out if there's something that we need to do in between this meeting and next meeting to make sure that we follow the rules for setting the calendar for the next year for this board. But one thing I just want to note about the calendar, if you've looked at it, is that I proposed a recommended time change to 8 o'clock versus 7:30. However, and I did that because we did confirm with the county counselor's office that we can move our votes to acclamation voting. Typically, as you all know, we tend to do roll call voting for many of our votes, and that takes up a significant amount of time. So thought that we could move the meetings to 8 o'clock and still wrap up by 9:30. But I do think it seems that we are often, unfortunately, in a position at around the 9 o'clock mark where we start to lose members, and this example of losing the quorum right here is something that I think should give us maybe some pause or reconsideration of that idea of moving the meetings to 8. So I think we just need to make sure that these meetings are a little bit tighter and that we try to accomplish most of, particularly the board business items we've been moving up in the front of the agenda. So we'll continue doing that, but we'll try to aspire to make these meetings more closer to an hour and a half, and probably keep the 7:30 a.m. start time as we move forward. And then we'll probably continue to have meetings on Wednesday. I had talked through this with the chair, and he reminded me that on Fridays, which is what you see in the calendar as a proposed new time or new day to meet, is often time when people take longer weekends or they're taking PTO time. So I think we'll avoid that headache. But I just want to draw your attention to those changes, because typically we've met on Wednesdays and we've met at 7:30, but you'll see some changes in that meeting schedule. And I would just say that I'm going back on what I was proposing to the board now as recommended changes, but open to feedback too. Excuse me, on the time and the day that we meet. Is there any feedback or comments on that? Okay, well, one other item then related to this is we've been meeting for the last 2 years as a board virtually. Is there any thought or any strong preference to resume in-person meetings at the job center, Northwest Crossings? We've talked about as a staff maybe doing a hybrid combination where 2 meetings a year we do virtually, 2 meetings we do in person. So that's an option on the table. Are there any strong opinions on whether or not we should try to get back together again in February, for instance, in person? Any thoughts or views towards that?
One issue is weather. So
Mhm.
hard to get out, more vulnerable to these things in the wintry months. If you're going to pick a get together component, sometimes that's at least one of them in the warmer time of the year. The other is I'm just telling you, it's really much more convenient to be able to do this. We all know that we don't have as much synergy as face to face can often create, but I don't think it's debilitating. We're getting the job done, and I'm a fan of virtual, but we'll roll with the punches, whatever the group would like to do.
This is Carolyn. I'm open to both. So
My 2 cents, Craig, is you're going to have to probably confirm with the county counselor's office is if we do in person and both, how does that work for public notices and public participation? I mean, do we have to have, is it one or the other or is it both? So, I mean, just might have to follow up on that.
Yep. I just made note of that, Jason.
Mac, I think you're trying to talk, but you're muted.
Do we have somebody trying to get in?
Sure that Mac is a yeah, he said he unmuted, but it's not working. Brandon, can you please check to make sure that Mac is in as a panelist? I think he is, but just can you double check and make him a panelist if he's not?
He says it looks like he's a panelist, and I unmuted him.
Okay. Well, he said he sent a note to me saying he'll follow up with me on this question that you posed. But Matt, can you hear us? Or I'm sorry, can you speak or no? Now he's trying, it's just not working. Okay, thanks, Mac. We'll huddle after this. So sorry, this was an oversight. We should have moved this up front of the agenda, Mr. Chair. I apologize for that for a board vote. I did not think we had any votes at this meeting and forgot that customarily at this time of the year we take a vote on this calendar. So we'll figure out what we need to do on that front, but apologize for not prioritizing that vote.
Greg, on top of that, it feels like there's a fair bit of discussion here and a couple of other rules of order around the impact of certain approaches. I don't know how to how to handle that in the next meeting, or whether you want to put it off to the next meeting, but it sounds like something we ought to get our arms around sooner
Yeah,
than later.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm gonna huddle with my friend Mac after this, and we'll get whatever the steps are necessary to move forward.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
Listen, this is Vanessa, and I
yeah.
was gonna chime in and just say I'm a fan of the virtual as well. I think you might want to gauge participation, as far as head count, which one will yield greater participation, so you have a quorum.
Yeah, Vanessa's exactly right. And that's what we ran into before. We asked about this before the pandemic, and it kind of was verboten. Now we all know we can do it. And so, keeping that forum and having even a hybrid, some there, some able to connect. I mean, we're all businesses are having to figure that out, and whether we can come at that with a little bit of option for someone to join virtually to keep the quorum when needed is another consideration.
Yep. No, that's a great point. Use data to drive our decision versus just arbitrarily deciding. So I think that's a good point, Vanessa and Lee, on the quorum piece too.
Yep.
And maybe we'll do like a poll, like a survey that gets feedback on preference and see how it affects possible attendance. I think that's a good idea.
Yep. And you can, well, I don't know if the county allows it, but you can do a simple poll through Outlook.
Yep.
It has that functionality. Yep.
Mhm. Okay, great. Well, I'll turn back over to our chair now. If you have any thoughts or comments, let us know. But Mr. Chair, we're at time for the meeting. And if you have any final thoughts and want to get a motion to adjourn, feel free.
I just want to wish everyone a safe winter. How's that? Holiday, however you enjoy the winter months. And thank you all very much. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
So moved in second. Thank you.
Be safe. Take care.
Ready? Bye-bye.
Brandon, can you let me know when the recording is available? So as soon as it's
Yes, I can do that.
that would be great. Or if you can just send me the link or download the large file or whatever.
I'll send you an email with where the file gets uploaded to. It gets stuck
I
on
know,
a server.
I know, but I don't have access to that.
Oh,
So
okay.
I always end up having to go back and ask you guys to send it to me anyway, because for some reason I can't my system won't allow me to access that
Oh, I
network.
wonder if it's are you over at Northwest Crossings? Did I lose you?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
yeah. Where are you at physically located?
At Northwest Crossings, yes.
Okay, that's probably why. It's a different domain, so you can't. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, I will probably do a large file share with you and send it through. Have you ever done a large file share through Mimecast?
Yes.
Okay.
If you can send it to me and then also add Michelle Patterson to that would be awesome.